First game of the tip-off featured Dean Smith's John Glenn Muskies and Todd Rock's Rosecrans Bishops, and Coach Smith had a lot to smile about as his team built a 7-point halftime advantage. Second half, much of the same Muskies get the rock to the big man. Sean McVicker can do it inside with the 2 and then outside with the 3. And John Glenn, he had 17 points to lead his team. Rosecrans would try to stay in it with junior Chris Garber. He netted 2 of his game-high 18 on the pretty reverse, but would not be enough as John Glenn just had too much this evening, winning 62-40 and advancing to tomorrow night's final game against Zanesville. John Glenn, high scorers, Sean McVicker, 17 big points and 8 rebounds. Matt Long at 15 points, including 3 3-point field goals. Kyle Record, 14 points, including 3 trades of his own. And for Rosecrans, the high scorer was last year's All-Ohio and Chris Garber with 18 points. And Joe Bills chipped in with 13 of his own. Game from earlier this evening had Rosecrans taking on the Marietta Tigers. It was a close contest throughout most of the game, with the Bishops taking control late. Joe Bills, he had 17 points, including this tray for Rosecrans. Joe Vukovic, he led the way for the Tigers. The big man had 20 points as he gets the ball in the hoop and the foul. But Chris Garber was the difference for the Bishops. He had a game-high 22 points, sweet lob and nice lay-in. 14 of them in the second half. Rosecrans pulls away for a 69-51 victory. They move to 1-1 on the season. Consolation game, once again, it was 69-51 in favor of the Rosecrans Bishops. Chris Garber with 22 points, and Joe Bills had 17 once again. Scott Peaton had 12, and Adam Troutner had 13 points as well for the Marietta Tigers as they fall for the second time in a row at the Tip-Off Classic. And once again, another successful weekend of basketball at Zanesville High School.
Rosecrans 102-41. Wow, over 100 points. Chris Garber led the way with 23 points and 8 rebounds, and you see it right there. Rosecrans had 6 players in double figures. Adam Larson also added 14 points, so Rosecrans recovering nicely, thank you, from this past weekend. And with a terrific matchup, Central Catholic League rivals Newark Catholic and the host team, the Rosecrans Bishops. The Bishop season got out to a rocky start in Zanesville High School Tip-Off Classic, suffering a first-round blowout loss to John Glenn, but the team has rebounded nicely, winning their next 3 games, and tomorrow night the Bishops hope to use their size advantage and defensive intensity to power past the Green Wave.
Well, it is a big game. It's our first league game, and it's good to get that one under the belt to get rolling when we go into the league. So we just need to play good defense, and I think we'll be all right.
Well, we'll play hard and play good defense, hopefully, and that's about all. I don't know.
It'll be nice to come home finally. We've been on the road a long time. Newark Catholic's always a big one. The small schools in the CCL always playing, fighting, but I think we have advantage.
What is that advantage?
Our size. They're not as big as us, and we're much more experienced than they are.
We're all close. We're a close-knit group. I mean, I don't know. We got big guys. We got outside shooting. I mean, we got the package, so I think we can do it.
Big guys are really stepping up, and after the John Glenn game, everyone we feel like we got something to prove now to everyone, because I mean we just didn't have a good night. It was a case where they were on fire, and we weren't really connecting, and we're just real pumped up about playing at home.
Start our coverage tonight at nearby Rosecrans High School, where the 3-1 Bishops faced off with the 0-1 North Catholic Green Wave. Records and stats aside, this game is one of the rivalry sort, and anything could happen. Last year's contest was decided by a buzzer-beating basket by Rosecrans, and this year it was our first Dutro Ford TV Game of the Week for basketball. Andy Kessel had the call with Bill Simon, adding a little bit of color.
Thank you, Russ. You're right. A big matchup in the CCLs. Rosecrans opens up here at Rogie Gymnasium. Let's take a look at the highlights on the Dutro Ford TV Game of the Week. And 2 legends in coaching, including one, Mr. Todd Rock. First quarter, Chris Garber gets the turnaround jumper. Things were all good for Garber early on, 6 points in the first quarter. Green Wave try to stay in it early. Mike Klockner, he was awesome. From outside, rain in threes like they were layups, keeping it close. Then Joe Bills, after the kick out, he'll drain the 3, and Rosecrans starting to take control. Second quarter, more Bishops. Round the horn they go, where they'll stop at David Peck, who knocks down the open 3. Back comes Newark Catholic. Joe Gress trying to keep it in there. Gets the jumper. That's about it. for the Green Wave. Scott Payton says, get that out of the lane, and quickly goes up the floor from Heron to Doug Hoffman for the deuce. 33-19 Bishops at the half. At third quarter, Garber explodes. He had 11 points, gets the jumper. He's our Dutro Ford player of the game, 19 points, 13 rebounds, the double-double. More Bishops. They close it off. Garber on the board, up to Joe Bills for the easy deuce the other way. He had 21. Rosecrans rocks and rolls. 85-44. This game can be seen tomorrow right here on WHIZ TV at noon.
The Rosecrans Bishops figured to be in a battle tonight, hosting Watterson at Rogie Gymnasium. At least the game should have been more closely contested than their last four, which they had won by an average of 43 points. For the game, Bishops huddling, captains shaking, cheerleaders milling about. Okay, game time. Rosecrans can't do anything in the early going. Turning it over, that's going to lead to the ball getting in the hands of David Egelhoff for the easy baseline J, and up goes Watterson early. Rosecrans, nothing happening. Chris Garber, turnaround hook, off. Sweet pass by Joe Bills into the lane to Jason Peck. Misses one, then gets it back, misses the bunny again. Nothing going right for Rosecrans. In fact, they wouldn't get their first field goal till midway through the first quarter, but it would be on the follow by Scott Payton off the terrible brick. But that would spark the team as Rosecrans and Joe Bills going into the lane hard for the hoop, and they would go on to win 58-51 after the slow start. Jason Peck picked it up after a rough beginning. 12 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 steals. That's a great night. Scott Payton, 11 points, 11 rebounds, your average double-double for him. Chris Garber, another big night, 10 points, 8 rebounds. Troy Smith led the way for the Watterson Eagles with 12 points. The holiday recess for area schools also means that league play is suspended till 1997, but it doesn't mean that the games do not go on. On the contrary, in fact, during this most joyous of seasons, we get some matchups that league play cannot produce, like today's game at Windland Memorial Gymnasium between the Maysville Panthers and the Rosecrans Bishops. Here it is, Rosecrans squeaking out the 63-59 victory over the Panthers. Joe Bills leading the way with 18 points, 16 of them in the first half. Chris Garber had 14 and 11 boards. Doug Hoffman chipped in with 10. Brian Sines of 15 points for Maysville, and Corey Ansel and Jeff Geyer had 12 points. But something to note about this game, Rosecrans guard Steve Heron went down hard. In fact, the hardest fall that Todd Rock, the coach of the Rosecrans Bishops, has ever seen. He knocked a tooth out, front 2 teeth went back into his mouth, had to be taken to the hospital, then to a dentist. He is fine, though, everybody, and he's day to day. Let's into tonight's game at Rogie Gymnasium. The Rosecrans Bishops were the hottest team in the area. After losing their first game of the year to John Glenn, the Bishops went on an 8-game tear. That brought them into tonight's game with Columbus Reedy. 4-0 in the CCL, the Bishops would take on a league foe tonight before facing a hot Buckeye Trail team tomorrow. But one game at a time, let's take you right out there. It was a battle of battling Bishops. Rosecrans on the run. Jerry Tiberio, coast to coast, and then the pull-up J for 2. And it's Joe Bills for 3. Nope, tipped it around, and then Chris Garber gets one of his 20 rebounds, tips it back in for 2 of his points. And how about the hands on David Peck? Check this out. Out of nowhere, it's Peck with the pick. And all the way for the scoop, the hoop, the layup, and Rosecrans takes it home 63-39. Joe Bills with 16 points on the evening. Let's check out the scoreboard, please. Joe Bills, 16 points on the evening. Chris Garber with 12 points and 20 rebounds. Huge day cleaning the glass. Jason Peck with 10 points, 2 of them on a beautiful pick.
Good evening, sports fans. The Rosecrans Bishops boys basketball team has won 10 straight games and are 5-0 in the Central Catholic League. And tomorrow night, the Bishops will take on Columbus DeSales. They were picked #1 in the preseason, and they sit 1 game back of the Rosecrans Bishops in the CCL at 4-1. Big game.
You know, they've got 1 loss in the league, and they were preseason #1, and it's going to be a great game. Our kids are relaxed. We have a lot of confidence in them. I think we're going to go up there and play really well. I think it's going to be a physical game. Every time we play them, there's usually 30, 40 foul shots, and yeah, it'll be a great game in front of a great crowd.
It's a big game for us. We're 5-0 in the league, and we want to keep going on in the league and go undefeated. And they beat us twice last year, so we're working extra hard to see if we can get a win column against them.
It's a real big game because last year we went down there and pretty much got embarrassed by them and ended up losing the CCL championship for the ride out last year to them. So it means a lot to our whole team to go back there and get some revenge.
So 2 questions. Joe Bills has hair now. And Coach Todd Rock, where did you get that shirt, my friend? Give me a call. We'll help you out on that one.
Good evening, everybody. Last season, the Rosecrans Bishops could have won sole possession of the CCL crown if only they had not lost to Columbus DeSales twice. Instead, the Bishops were forced to share the title with 2 other teams, including the Stallions. Surely a bitter pill to swallow. Tonight, though, Rosecrans would get a chance at some revenge. 5-0 in the conference entering the game, and 1 game ahead of DeSales, the Bishops and Stallions met in the capital city tonight with league supremacy and a certain intangible called pride on the line. And Rosecrans brought their own support out to DeSales tonight, and it worked in the early going as the Bishops opened up to a 9-0 start. Here's Jason Peck using the pick and going straight to the hole for 2. More on Peck in just a moment. How about some Joe Bills? Joe Bills from downtown. He has hair now, and he's hitting the threes. Joe Bills would have 14 points. Stallions weren't going out like that at home. Here they are, led by Kevin Eckendode. He had 20 points, but back comes Peck at the other end of the floor. No one's covering. Peck gets the easy 2. DeSales keeping at it. It's Wirtz finding Eckendode underneath in the back door for 2 more. And DeSales kept it close all the way. Chris Garber, he had 17. That's his average. But the story was Jason Peck coming up huge with 17 points of his own, including the game winner with under a minute to play. And Rosecrans escapes with a 67-65 victory on the road at Columbus DeSales. Huge game for Jason Peck. Unbelievable. Great job by Todd Rock's Rosecrans Bishops. They win their 11th straight game. They're 11-1, 6-0 in conference play. This is Rogie Gymnasium, where the battling Bishops went for win number 12 in a row against a Buckeye Trail team they defeated 10 days ago. The game at Trail was supposed to be a tight contest involving hot teams, with 2 of the best players in the area squaring off. Rosecrans' Chris Garber and Trail's Steve Kerr. But the Bishops won that game by 17 points, and tonight the Warriors sought some revenge. Rosecrans had the younger crowd on their side, and it didn't hurt that Steve Kerr was benched for tonight's game, so they had to rely on the talents of Nick Nelson. He led the Warriors with 16 points. But the absence of Steve Kerr opened up the floodgates for Rosecrans' Chris Garber. Look at the perfectly executed pick and roll with Jason Peck. Easy layup now. Garber fighting for the rebound. He's going to get it. Garber all over the place, and it's Garber again with the block, which leads to an easy, fast break bucket by super sophomore Joe Bills. Bills had 20 points, but the night belonged to Garber. Here he is getting another one of his 20 rebounds. And then, as the ball goes down the court, watch for Garber coming into your screen right now and hitting the jumper in the middle of the lane. He had 32 points to go along with those rebounds. 80-63 is your final score in favor of the Rosecrans Bishops. Huge night for Chris Garber. 32 points and 20 rebounds. There's Bills' 20. Ryan Kerr, the brother of Steve, at 11 points. Steve Nelson with 14, and Nick Nelson with 16. It was not enough as Trail loses big again. Rosecrans Bishops were in action tonight looking for yet another victory, and they pull off a victory at Newark Catholic tonight in CCL action. A huge victory over Newark Catholic tonight. Rosecrans goes on to win. That's number 14 in a row for the Bishops.
Bishops are in the middle of a brutal second-half schedule that started at Columbus DeSales and ends with DeSales at home. On the way, they had to host Buckeye Trail, in which they beat. They will travel to Triway this Saturday, and tonight they welcome CCL rival Columbus Hartley to Rogie Gymnasium. The Bishops are 7-0 in conference play and 13-1 overall, the best-kept secret in southeastern Ohio. And the Rogie Gymnasium was a rockin' tonight. What a great atmosphere at Rogie. Check it out. But an ugly start, though, as the Hawks got out to the early lead. Adam Stone, padding his own stats, follow his miss, fall away 13-4 early on for Columbus Hartley, but then Steve Heron puts it on the deck, goes end-to-end, gets the jumper in the paint, and they start to chip away. And they go to outside, and what a stroke this kid has. Look at the perfect form. Joe Bills gets the deuce. Sweet stroke for him. And Jason Peck, he was a big player in this game. He strokes the 3. And then watch the interior passing. Scott Beaton down to Chris Garber on the backside. And Garber knows what to do with it. He gets the deuce. They go on to win easily to the Bishops as they pull away in the second half. 60-39. The Bishops improved to 14-1. They are riding a 14-game winning streak, 8-0 in CCL play. Garber led the way with 21 points. Jason Peck, Todd Rock called him the player of the game, 8 points, but he had 8 steals. He created a lot of havoc on the defensive end, and Joe Bills did his thing, as always, pumping in 12 points from the outside.
Good evening, everybody. Starting tonight, the Rosecrans Bishops will play 3 games in a 4-day stretch against some serious competition. Sandwiched between tonight and Tuesday night CCL games is a contest at Worcester's Triway High School tomorrow night, where the home team has only 3 losses in the 1990s. Tonight's opponent, the Waterson Eagles,